Yes, welcome to the Biogenesis. We are going to discuss about the previous paper of Pollution Control Board 2017. So there are various topics are there: organic, inorganic, physical, and somehow water related topics. So I am going to discussion. So what kind of questions will there in the examination, in the previous examination? How we are going to approaching, right, to get all those questions. So whether what kind of questions we will get in next examination. So all those things we are going to discuss, right. So then right. So here the first question will be, so physical part we are going to discuss. The question will be related to chemical kinetics, right. So there's some data is given in chemical kinetics, right. So what is first order reaction is given, first order reaction rate constant is given. So then what is the half-life of the first order rate constant equation, right. So the relation between rate constant and half-life, that is 0.693 by T off, right, T 1 by 2. So therefore we will get T off will be 0.693 by K rate constant. That rate constant will be 0.693 by 1.54 into 10 to the power of minus 3 will be given, right, 10 to the power of minus 3. So this will be written as 10 to the power of 3 means 693 by 1.54. So this value will be equals to 460, that will be seconds, right. So the rate constant for this, then what is the half-life? Half-life will be mentioned in seconds, therefore that is the answer is 450, right. So just we go through the relation between half-life period and rate constant for the first order reaction, right. So coming to the next question, right. So what is the pH will be? This will be related to pH, right. So whenever the pH, various number of equations are there to get the pH, but in the given data, so we have to move with the help of data only, right. So what is the concentration will be given, that is moles per liter, decimeter cube will be considered as liters, that is the concentration will be, right, concentration will be 0.01 is given, and pKa will be given, pKa is 3.37 will be given, right. So therefore what is the pH of the solution? The corresponding solution is the question, right. Therefore there is a relations will be there. From this pKa we will get Ka, right. So Ka is equals to us 10 to the power of minus pKa, as similar to pH is equals to 10 to the power of minus pH. Ka is equals to this, therefore 10 to the power of minus 3.37. So this will be equals to almost approximately 4.24 into 10 to the power of minus 4. That is the Ka is there and C is there, therefore we have to use the concentration of H plus. The concentration of H plus will be square root of Ka into C. The concentration of H plus will be given with the help of Ka values. So that is for HNO2 molecule. So that is Ka into C means, so that is Ka is 4.24 into 10 to the power of minus 4 into 0.01, right. So therefore this we have to written as 4.24 into 10 to the power of minus 6 we have to written. So this will be approximately, so we will get 2.06 into 10 to the power of minus 3. 10 to the power of minus 3. This is the concentration of H plus. The concentration of H plus will be given. So therefore by applying minus logarithmic of H plus concentration, that becomes pH. So therefore that pH will be minus log of 2.06 into 10 to the power of minus 3 will get. So that is 3 minus log of 2.06 we will get. So that is approximately 2.69 we will get, right. So that is 2.69 is the pH. This is the pH. Definitely we will go through the concept only, right. So what is the given data? Concentration will be given, pH will be given, that we have to convert it into Ka. Then the concentration of H plus will be in terms of Ka and concentration, that is square root of Ka into C. So from that we will get the answer, that is 2.69, right. So next, moving to the next question, right. So this is a simple question, right? So that is related to redox reaction. What is meant by redox reaction means any reaction which will be involved in oxidation and as well as reduction. Such reactions are called as redox reactions. Such reactions are called as redox reactions. Out of all the given data, the redox reaction will be considered as what? So Ki, that will be reacts with Cl2, 2 moles of Ki, that becomes, we will get 2 moles of KCl plus I2, right? Here iodine with negative charge -1, here charge will be 0, here chlorine will be 0, this will be -1. 0 to -1 will be what? Decreasing the oxidation state, therefore that is called reduction. -1 to 0 means that is called oxidation. So therefore both oxidation and reductions are involved in this reaction, hence this is the redox reaction, right? This is the redox reaction. So the first one will be precipitation reaction, HCl will be precipitate. So right here will be KCl and chlorine reaction will be there. So that is KCl3 complex will be formed, and here sodium carbonate and HCl means H2CO3 will get, carbonic acid will get, and NaCl will get. So therefore the redox reaction will be only this Ki plus Cl2 gives rise to 2KCl plus I2, right? Both oxidations and reductions are present, so therefore hence that is called redox reaction, right? Then coming to the next one, right? So this is very simple question, right? So but we have to remember that various values of gas constant also we have to remember. So the equation will be given delta G is equals to minus RT ln K, or else G is equals to Gibbs free energy is equals to minus RT ln K, right? So this is the where R is a what? Gas constant. R is a gas constant. So definitely we have to remember the gas constant values. One will be 25/3, that is joules per Kelvin per mole, right? So then one will be 1/12, so that is 25/3, 1/12, that is liter atm per mole per Kelvin, right? So that is R. The one more will be equals to 1.98, that is calories per mole per Kelvin. These are the always gas constant that will be obtained from the ideal gas equation. Hence here R will be stands for. So the question will be symbol of R will be stands for what? Gas constant, right? Avogadro number is Na, that is 6.023 into 10 to the power of 23. Reaction coefficient that will be obtained in the reactions when reactants are converted to products. Entropy will be, that is the disorderliness of the system. So therefore R stands for gas constant. A very easy question only, right? So then it is a very interesting question coming to the part of chemical kinetics, right? So this is the chemical kinetics will be there. So here we have to know either exothermic reaction or endothermic reaction. Two kind of reactions are there. So here particularly mentioned endothermic reaction, right? So therefore we will go with endothermic reaction plot, right? So endothermic reaction means we have to remember endothermic means, right, delta H will be positive. Delta H will be positive, right? So if we go with the diagram, right, reactants energy will be less and product energy will be more, right? So therefore whatever is the activation energy will be there. So this will be activation energy will be E of F, then forward reaction, and this will be activation energy for E of B. Just by simple seeing that reaction, right? So E of F will be greater than of E of B, right? So this is applicable for what? Endothermic reaction. So that is the condition will be backward will be less than of EF, right? This is the answer, right? So with the help of diagram only we can get. So the distance EF will be more, or else if you may consider delta H is equals to H of products minus H of reactants. H of products minus H of reactants, or this is H of products means H of forward reaction, right, minus H of backward reaction. So therefore this becomes E of forward minus E of backward. That becomes a positive value because delta H is positive for endothermic reaction. Therefore hence EF will be more, right, compared to backward, right? So very conceptual question, right? So coming to the one more, this is also related to chemical kinetics, right? So order of the reaction will be there. What is meant by order of the reaction means the sum of the powers of the reactants which are involved in rate equation is called order of the reaction, right? One reaction will be given, that is A plus B is gives rise to products, A plus B is gives rise to products, right? So when the rate is doubled, the concentration of B, right? So the concentration will be doubled, right? So we are going to explain about B. As the concentration will be double, rate also will be double, right? Rate also increases 2 times, right? By doubling the concentration means, hence that follows first order kinetics. First order kinetics. So therefore B follows first order kinetics, right? So go with 4 options, right? So these 2 options we have to remove because B is following second order. In both the cases we have the answer out of this first one and last one. So this we have to read the next sentence. With the help of that we will get the answer directly, right? So rate increases by 8 times when the concentration of both reactants and products are doubled. Both the concentration and, right, for this reaction if you may write the rate equation, rate is equals to rate constant into a to the power of x and b to the power of y, right? So therefore what is the a to the power of concentration of A will be double, right? That means 2a power x, right, into b power 2b power 1, because so this b will be follows first order, b will be follows first order. So therefore that will be rate will be equals to 8 times, means 8 is equals to 2 to the power of x into 2 to the power of 1, right? So therefore 2 to the power of x is equals to 4 will get, therefore x is equals to 2, right? That is the x belongs to A. Therefore hence the rate will be rate constant into a power 2 and b, right? This is the answer, right? So the fourth one, this is also neglected because A following first order. Or else here if the reactant concentration will be increases 2 times, right? So the rate will be increases 8 times. Therefore this is the condition is applicable for second order kinetics, right? Rate constant double, so it will be increases 4 times, right? So as the reactant concentration will be double, rate will be increases 4 times. That is also called second order. So but with respect to 2 reactants means 8 times means this will be 4 times, this will be 4 times. Therefore overall 8 times will be there. The corresponding answer will be a to the power of 2, b to the power of 1. That is the rate equation, right? Coming to the next question, right? So this is right. So here see, so very interesting data will be given. So we have to follow some phenomenon of equilibrium processes, like how the reaction will be going to completion after equilibrium. All those things will be given. So but we have to follow that reaction will be, right, 2a plus b, 2a is gives rise to 2a is gives rise to b plus c. B is a gas, c is a solid, and a also gas, right? So whatever the data is given, that we are going to incorporate in this. At t is equals to 0, the pressure will be P0, and initially there is no formation of pressures, right? So at t is equals to some time t, after time t, so xb will be formed, because this is a solids, we want to consider the solids, only gases we have to consider. So therefore this is the P0 minus 2x, right? P0 minus 2x, right? So with respect to A only rate we are getting, so therefore the rate constant will be, that is k is equals to 2.303 by t log of, right? So initial A by A minus x. A by A minus x is a general phenomenon, that is in terms of concentrations, but here we will get the pressures, right? Therefore this equation will be 2.303 by t of log of P0 by P0 minus x will be given, right? So P0 by P0 minus x will be given. Therefore we have to get this P0 and P0 minus x values. So from this given data, right, what was the given data will be there. Experiment 1 with 10 minutes, the pressure will be 300 pascals. Next experiment 2 will be 200 pascals, right? So just we have to find out that x means, that is the P0 by 2 will be equals to how much is given, that is 200. Therefore from this we will get P0 is equals to what, 400 pascals. P0 will be 400 pascals. So from that P0, so we have to consider the total pressures. From this, what about the total pressures? Total pressures will be P0 minus 2x plus x. So that is P total will be, that is P0 minus x will be getting, right? So what was the total pressure will be given, that is, right? So total pressure will be 300 will be given, right? So therefore this P naught minus X, so P naught will be 400 will be given. So this will be equals to total pressure, that is at a time 10 minutes 300 pascals will be given. This is the pressure. So therefore 300 is equals to P naught minus X means, therefore X is equals to P naught minus 300. So therefore that is the P naught is the 400 minus 300, that becomes 100 is the X value. Right, X is a 100. Therefore that we have to substitute in this equation. Therefore, so we will get our answer, that is K is equals to 2.303 by time will be 10 and log of P naught will be how much we got? 400 pascals. 400 pascals by P naught is 400 minus 2x, that is belongs to 2x here, right? P naught minus 2x we have to consider. So that is 400 minus 200, that becomes 200. Therefore ln 2 will get, right, 2.303 into log 2. Log 2 value is 0.30 by 10 means the above value is 0.693, right? 0.693 will get 0.693 by 10 means 0.0693 is the our answer, right? So how it will be interesting, right? So direct not given. If direct is given A by A minus X, so therefore we will get, but that will be mentioned in the presence of pressures. So therefore we have to find out this. With the help of this we have to get these pressures of reactant A, because rate is always depends on reactant concentrations. P naught is initial and after completion of the time P naught minus 2x. This ratio will give the answer, that is 0.0693, right? How it should be interesting, right? So as we have the sound of knowledge in subject, so definitely we are able to answer such type of questions, complication questions. Definitely you have to differentiate from the others, right? When you get this one means you have to choose the better institute, so you will get the better subject, then you will apply your better knowledge and you will get the corresponding answers easily, right? So then coming to the part of one more question, that is related to the colligative property, that is one of the property is what? Osmometry or osmolarity, right? So what is that means? If has greater osmotic pressure, right? Osmotic pressure will be, right, same means for concentrations pi 1 is equals to pi 2. Pi will be osmotic pressure. Such solutions are called as isotonic solutions. But pressure will be, osmotic pressure will be greater than, so with the pressure will be greater than with osmotic pressure means that are what? Hypertonic solutions. Hypertonic solutions. Right, hypertonic solutions. It will be less than means hypotonic solutions. Hypotonic solutions. Here our condition will be greater than, so therefore, so we will get hypertonic solutions. Isotonic means pressure will be same. Osmotic pressures will be same. One of the osmotic pressure will be high compared to osmotic pressure. Pressure will be high compared to osmotic pressure means hypertonic. Pressure will be less compared to osmotic pressure means hypotonic. Therefore, so here greater will be there, that becomes hypertonic solutions, right? So then this is very easy question, basic concept question. So according to Planck's, right? According to Planck's, energy is directly proportional to nu, therefore E is equals to h nu. So this is always in a discontinuous form. Discontinuous form. Right? The energy either observed or emitted. The energy is either observed or emitted in the form of discontinuous, in the form of a small packets. Those small packets will be considered as the quanta, right? So therefore this is a discontinuous manner, right? According to Planck's, energy travels in discontinuous manner, right? Coming to the next question, right? See, which of the following is not correct consequence of Heisenberg uncertainty principle? Right, definitely we have to know the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. The position and momentum is greater than or is equals to h by 4 pi. This is the what? Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Heisenberg uncertainty principle, right? So the simultaneous determination of position and momentum is not possible, but so the exact position will be determined. So the momentum will be uncertain, infinity. If we can determine the momentum, position will be uncertain. Therefore, so the exact position or momentum we have to consider, but which one is not correct means the momentum of electron cannot be measured exactly. So this is the wrong statement, but right answer for our question, given question. So because this we can get accurately, at the time we don't get a delta x. because both we cannot get at a time. According to this is applicable for large particles, right? So that is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, right? So coming to the next question, right? Then see, so this will be related to Schrodinger wave equation, right? So whenever we are going to discuss about Schrodinger wave equation, that will be applicable for the one-dimensional, two-dimensional and three-dimensional, right? So the solution of Schrodinger wave equation can be getting easily for hydrogen atom when the entire spherical harmonics equation will be converted into three ordinary form of equations, right? So therefore the Schrodinger wave equation is separable into three ordinary differential equations. With the help of this we can get the solution. So from that solution what we are getting the information means principal quantum number, azimuthal and magnetic quantum number. This entire equations, entire part we will get from this those three equations, right? So if we want to, here we have to write those equations are, one is r of r equation, y of theta equation, z of pi equation. The entire wave function will be considered as this. These are the three individual equations with the help of separable variable method. So that is the correct option that will be applicable for polar coordinates, right? Hydrogen atom, right? So coming to the part of next question, right? So this is a very interesting and easy question, right? So what is the, read the question properly, we have to understand the terminology given, right? The first two overlapping energy levels according to Euler chart, right? So the order of energy levels will be given, right? Which energy levels will be overlapping, right? So that is according to Hubble principle. So we have to follow n plus L rule, right? So where n plus L values will be same started, right? So that will be n is equals to 3 level, n is equals to 4 level. If n is equals to 3, that is the 3D, right? N is equals to 4, that is the 4S, right? So if you consider n plus L value, 3 plus 2, that will be 5, right? So here n plus L value will be, right? So 4 plus 0, that is 4, right? Instead of 3D orbital, the electrons will be entered into 4s, right? So therefore hence the configuration involves, right, levels found in, right, first overlapping energy levels found in building up the electronic configuration involves the principal energy levels. Principal this is, so principal energy levels means that is 3 and 4 only, right? So that is the correct option. We are getting differentiation of this. So the after electron 3p entered into 4s, not into 3D, right? So that will be overlapping, will be started at there only. So even further some other also will be overlapping. That first will be overlapping in case of this. Therefore n is equals to 3 and n is equals to 4. Right. So coming to the part of next question, right? This is very easy question, as thermodynamics we have discussed it, right? So based on that thermodynamics we will get that one easily, right? So the mixture of gas expands from, expansion will be there, volume is given, at constant pressure is there, right? So therefore directly we have to find out work is equals to minus P dV, right? So W is equals to what? Minus P is given 1 million. 1 million means how many zeros? 6 zeros we have to take. This is the pressure 1 million Pascal into volumes are given 0.06 minus 0.03 is given, right? So this is minus 1 million into, right, 6 zeros into 0.03. So therefore we will get 3 zeros will be cancelled, means we will get 30,000, right? So 4 zeros will be get, right? These will be in terms of joules, therefore it will be converted kilojoules, means 30 kilojoules, that is minus 30 kilojoules, right? So what is the question? The change of internal energy is the question according to first law of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics. What is the first law of thermodynamics? Change in internal energy is equals to Q plus W, right? W is what? Work done by the system, means we have to consider minus PdV. So therefore delta E is equals to, heat is given how much? 84 kilojoules. 84 kilojoules minus 30 kilojoules. Therefore we will get 54 kilojoules is the change in internal energy. That is the correct option, right? So directly, so we will get this answer with the help of simple first law of thermodynamics. From the first law of thermodynamics, W is equals to PdV, and from the first law of thermodynamics, delta E will be 54 kilojoules, right? Next, coming to the part of next one, right? Which of the thermodynamic property right, thermodynamic property known as temperature, that is based on, there are 3 laws, 4 laws are there, thermodynamics laws. So zeroth law is there. This is introducing about temperature only. So that's why we have to discuss about when the system A is thermally equilibrium with B, B is thermally equilibrium with C, hence A and B also thermal A and C also thermal equilibrium with each other. So whenever we are going to discuss about thermal equilibrium means that is the part of temperature will be remains constant. Therefore, zeroth law of thermodynamics that will be introducing temperature, right? So the temperature will be based on the what? Zeroth law of thermodynamics. So here we have to discuss about the first law of thermodynamics that will be related to energy. That will be related to energy. The second law of thermodynamics will be introducing what? Entropy, the concept of entropy, right? So Planck's Kelvin, this will be given one of the statement of second law of thermodynamics only. So therefore our answer will be what? Temperature will be based on zeroth law of thermodynamics, right? Zeroth law, first law, second law, and Planck's Kelvin Planck's statements all we have discussed in our classes. So therefore we are able to solve easily, right? Then this one already I mentioned in my class, right? So whenever you go through the topic of thermodynamics, right? So and also followed by gaseous state, in both the cases I have revised this question, right? So simply here, right, what is the relation between the pressures we have to consider? So simply we will go through it. So put the constant volume. When volume will be constant, volume is constant, right? When volume is constant, what is the condition should follow? This is the what? Temperature T1. This is the temperature is T1. This is the temperature, corresponding temperature is T2. This is the corresponding temperature is T3. Therefore, the temperature will be moving on this axis means increasing. Therefore, we will get the relation of T3 is less than T2 is less than T1, right? But at constant volume, pressure is directly proportional to temperature. That is a which law? Gay-Lussac law, right? That is applicable by Gay-Lussac law. Pressure is directly proportional to temperature means, hence we will get the relation that is P3 is less than P2 is less than P1. So therefore P1 will be more. Just we see the options, right? So we don't have that option. Therefore we have to convert reverse. That is P1 is greater than P2 is greater than P3. This option will be there. So therefore this is the option. P1 is greater than P2. Sorry. P1 is greater than, P2 is greater than P3. This is the option, right? How it should be interesting, right? So with the help of this, this we may call as whenever pressures are constant. So these graphs we may call as what? Isobars. Sometimes it will be mentioned in the isobar. So definitely we have to utilize such kind of graphs only, right? So this is the relation should follows. Then coming to the part of next question. Right. So this is related to the efficiency part, right? So as we know the efficiency of heat engines, so directly length will be given and so area will be subjected to that area and temperature differences will be there, T1 to T2 difference is there. So therefore from this Ka into T1 minus T2 divided by length. So this will give the what? Rate of heat flow. Rate of heat flow. Rate of heat flow. Right. So this is the Fourier's rule. We may call it as Fourier's rule directly. So we have to apply therefore Ka into T1 minus T2 by L. We will get this answer directly with Fourier's rule. Right. T1 minus T2. Right. As similar to that efficiency of heat engine. So some other terminology will be included that we have to incorporate the corresponding we will get. Right. So then coming to the next question. How it should be interesting, right? So there are two will be there. N-heptane is there and ethanol is there. Ethanol is consisting more electronegative atom, so therefore that can make some hydrogen bonding with N-heptane, right? Oxygen with make hydrogen bonding, therefore there is a bonding nature will be there means, therefore that can shows positive deviation, right? So that is the solution is a non-ideal solution and shows positive deviation from the Raoult's law. So simple we have to get that deviation, either it is negative deviation or positive deviation, that is depending on the nature also, right? So there is a hydrogen bonding nature will be there, therefore positive deviation. If there is no bonding, repulsion forces will be there, means no attractions are present between those two compounds. So at that time we will get the negative deviation. So what is the ideal and how they are deviating from that behavior of various liquid solutions combinations, right? So there are some combinations will be there, we have to remember accordingly, so that our non-ideal solutions are deviating from ideal behavior, right? So then coming to the part of so simple match up the following conditions, right? So rechargeable will be there, as we are utilizing mobile phones every day, we use it to put the charging, right? So charging and discharging, what kind of batteries we are using? So lithium ion batteries we are using, right? Lithium will be involved in oxidation and reduction, based on that we have to utilize that power. So therefore those rechargeable will be secondary kind of batteries, right? Non-rechargeable will be primary type of batteries. Then anode will be negative in charge, cathode will be positive in charge, right? So therefore with respect to that we have to select that option, A with 2, B with 4, then C with 1 and D with 5, right? So therefore this is the correct option, directly concept based only, so we have to choose the match of the following, right? Okay, rechargeable and non-rechargeable. So in electrochemistry we are able to discuss about the batteries concept, right? So then coming to the part of this, how it should be, right? So clear, right? Protecting power is there, this will be related to the colloids, right? And gold numbers are given, right? Just we have to remember that data. So right, what is the relationship between that? Protecting power will be inversely proportional to what? Gold number. Protecting power will be inversely proportional to gold number. If gold number will be more, protecting power will be less. So out of the given data, which one is gold number will be more, right? A gold number will be more. Then after that, this is the A means first one, right? A is first one. Then what about the next one? 0.10 is there. C is the next one. Next 0.01 is there. That is D is the B is the third one, this is the second one, and this is the last one, right? So therefore what is the relation should follows? A, C, B, D. A has highest gold number means lowest protecting power, right? Highest gold number means lowest protecting power. D has lowest gold number means highest protecting power. So therefore the correct order of protecting powers will be, so this one, right? So that is the relation we have to remember. So protecting power will be or protective or protecting power, right? Even protective also we have to utilize, right? Protective power will be inversely proportional to gold number. What is the concept of all those gold numbers and all those concepts we will discuss in the next, right? This is a directly concept based only. So we have to choose the water vapors from hydrogen gas and oxygen gas, right? So whenever they may combine together we will get, so this will be, right? So by equaling number of H2 and O2 we can get H2O. So that is the third option will be suitable for that answer, right? So then coming to the part of next question, right? So this is very interesting question coming to the part of electrochemistry. So while we are going to discussion about what reduction potentials, right? So here 3 reduction potentials are given. So we have to combine this one or these two, right? So the various combinations are there, right? Various combinations are there. So we are going to connect all those things. Means cadmium connect with hydrogen, right? Coupled with hydrogen, or stannous plus 2 coupled with hydrogen, or stannous and cadmium will coupled with each other, right? So there are various kind will be there. So whenever we are going to coupling, just here we have to remember, right? The E cell will be equals to E naught of cathode minus E naught of anode, right? So E naught is nothing but what? Standard reduction potential. Here also standard reduction potential of anode. So one will be undergo reduction, one will be undergo oxidation. So that cathode will be reduction, anode will be oxidation. Both the reduction potentials we have to subtract. So therefore, so that always here there is a given one equation, that is a spontaneous nature. Therefore delta G will be minus NF E naught cell, right? Or minus NF E cell, right? When delta G is negative, the process becomes what? Spontaneous process. When this delta G is negative means what we have to get? E cell. E cell will be must and should we will get positive by coupling of these two, cadmium ion with hydrogen, right? What is the cadmium? right? Reduction potential, that is minus 0.40, hydrogen will be less, right? So therefore by using their E cell will be 0.40 volts we will get, right? So this is, even we may coupled these two, stannous and cadmium also will be there. So by coupling of these two we will get 0.36 will 0.26 will get. Instead of this positive also here we will get, but instead of this is the highest value, therefore that can make a more effective reaction, that is spontaneous nature. Therefore cadmium will be combined with H plus, that can give maximum spontaneous nature of that pair, right? So all will be various topics we have to incorporate into this, right? So, right. So there is a, I already given that rate constant values, right? Gas constant values or values, 3 values I have given. So then the value of SI unit of gas constant, that will be what? 287 joules per kg per Kelvin. That we have to remember, numerical or knowledge based question only, right? So then coming to the part of next question, right? When applied to solar radiations in the ultraviolet region, remember that ultraviolet region is a short wavelength, right? So that is UV. IR will be long wavelength, right? Short wavelength and long wavelength. Planck's law will be reduces, right? So when Planck's law will be reduces, that becomes Wien's law. Wien's law, right? So that is with the help of short wavelength, right? So the intensity of radiation intensity is decreases as the lambda will be decreases. The intensity of what is a Wien's law means, radiative intensity will be decreases exponentially with the decreasing of lambda value. So therefore the reduction of that Planck's will be known as what? Wien's law, right? So Raoult's law, Faraday's and Faraday rule, that will be related to spin, that will come under in some other cases, right? Coming to the part of next one, right? So here see, very interesting question. This is related to Michaelis-Menten mechanism, right? Enzyme kinetics will be there, right? In Michaelis-Menten mechanism, just we have to follow the rate equation, right? That is rate equation, nu is equals to Vmax into substrate concentration divided by Km plus substrate concentration, right? So if substrate concentration will be very low concentration means, right, so Km will be there, so that will be, substrate will be very low concentration. Substrate is very low concentration means, even low means very low also we have to consider. At that time, what is the equation? That is Vmax into S divided by Km. Therefore this is follows first order kinetics. According to this equation, when substrate will be present at lower concentration, follows first order kinetics. When substrate will be having high concentrations means S will be greater than with Km. Therefore nu is equals to R max will get, right, or Vmax will get. There is no substrate in that, therefore hence it should follows zero order kinetics. Depending on the substrate concentration we have to follow, that is a Michaelis-Menten equation, right? At very high substrate concentrations, substrate concentrations will be what? Very high, right? When very high substrate concentration is follows what? Zero order kinetics, right? So there is a mentioned, some other people are saying that is at higher concentrations first order, but no, at higher concentration that will follows zero order, because we not able to see any substrate molecule in that rate equation, right? Therefore that can follows zero order kinetics, right? So zero order kinetics with respect to higher concentration of substrate, that is Michaelis-Menten equation, right? Coming to the part of next one, right? So what about that means? So what about this means? This will be related to what? Double vertical line. Simple in electrochemistry, double vertical line indicates what? Salt bridge only. Very easy question. Double vertical line indicates salt bridge, right? So there are single vertical lines also will be the representation of M by M plus N, or here reduction Mn plus by M. So here anode it will be acts as anode, it will be acts as cathode. Cathode is always, we have to write right hand side of salt bridge, that these double vertical lines represents what? Salt bridge, right? So very easy question only, concept based, right? Coming to the part of next one, right? So this is the, which property cannot be used to measure the rate, right? Which property cannot be used to measure the rate of the reaction? This is the reaction is known as what? Saponification reaction. Saponification reaction, right? So for saponification we have to use conductivity, we have to use, right? So change of mass also we have to use, change in pH also we have to use, but so the change in color we cannot use, right? So cannot be used to measure means this is, right? So that is the, this all three will be used, but this cannot be used for the measuring of the rate of the following reaction, that is change in color, right? Change in color. So the easy question only, right? Coming to the part of next question, right? Here the law of thermodynamics are not applicable for, right? So which will be applicable for large particles only. So for individual atoms and molecules the thermodynamics law cannot be applicable, right? Therefore this is the answer, right? So that is universe, environment and assembling of all those molecules will be applied, but individual atoms and molecules cannot be applied thermodynamic laws, right? Next, coming to the part of next question, right? How it should be eutectic point will be there. This is the question is related to phase rule, right? Phase rule at eutectic point, right? Whatever is the point we may consider. So the eutectic point means three type of plots we will get. Whatever is that, either this is a solid, liquid and gases will be separated. So just I am giving example. All the three will be present at one point, that is known as eutectic point. At this eutectic point, so the melting point of mixture is always lower than the melting point of individual compounds, right? So this is the option is suitable for that eutectic point in a phase diagram, right? Eutectic point means all the three phases are exist at that particular point. So where the mixture is lower, the melting point of the mixture will be lower than the individual components, right? So then coming to the part of next one, right? So no more than 2 electrons can be placed in an orbital, right? So no more than 2 electrons can be placed in an orbital. Which of the following will be statement is supported means simply Pauli's exclusion principle, right? So according to above, so electrons will be entered into the energy levels. Then Faraday's and Hund's will be single electron will be paired up. Then after filling single electron, pairing will be takes place. Therefore this is Pauli's exclusion principle only, right? So then coming to the part of this, right? So there is a reaction is given, right, in which chemical species will undergo oxidation. Oxidation means, remember, oxidation means increasing the oxidation state. Increasing the oxidation state. Reduction means decreasing the oxidation state is the reduction, right? So therefore here SO2 is converted to this. Here S will be +4, S will be +6, increasing the oxidation state. Therefore this is a species is involved in oxidation, right? That is a redox reaction. So that species will be involved in oxidation, right? So then coming to the part of next reaction, right? So this is a very easiest reaction. In a particular redox reaction is there, right? In this redox reaction, oxidation number of phosphorus will be changes from -3 to 0, right? -3 to 0. Phosphorus -3 will be, phosphorus -3 will be 4 -3 will be converted as P4. P4 will be 0. Means how many electrons will be lost? 3 electrons, 3 negative charges will be lost, then converted to P4 will be 0, because P will be available in, right, tetraatomic form, right? So that is, so this is, therefore last 3 electrons, and so that -3 to 0 will be oxidation state is increasing, therefore that is called oxidation, right? That becomes oxidized. This is the option is correct for that, right? So then coming to the part of next one, right? So this is very simple only, de Broglie's principle, right? So that is the dual nature that should be follows. One is the wave nature and other one is the particle nature. So that is the duality nature will be applicable. This is the answer according to de Broglie. So some directly chosen will be there. So based on the given statements only, right? So then coming to the part of, then coming to the part of right? Schrodinger wave equation that can be describes the various properties. So the various properties of electrons in terms of, right, the position of electron we will get with the help of Schrodinger wave equation, mass we will get, total energy we will get, and potential energy we will get. All these parameters we can get a Schrodinger wave equation solution. The complete solution of Schrodinger wave equation that we can get all kind of properties which are applicable for the electrons, right? So then coming to the part of next question, right? So such a easy question this is. Nucleus with a nuclear spin, quantum numbers are L is equals to what? L is equals to 1 by 2. L is equals to 1 by 2. Then what about the M values? Means that will be plus 1 by 2 minus 1 by 2, right? So generally M values will be minus L to 0 to plus L. So but in case of integer spins we will get 2 only. Therefore that is plus half and minus half, right? So this is the answer. ML means that is magnetic quantum number with respect to L, right? The specific heat capacity of isothermal process, right? So definitely you have to follow this question and asthmatic. Previously what I told that Michaelis-Menten mechanism. So 2 questions mistake will be there, right? So means somehow people are saying that so what they given TGPSC answers only, but as we applied that concept we will get that, right? What is the specific heat capacity? S is equals to what? dq by dt. For m gram of substance this is, right? So this is for isothermal process. What is the dt value? That is 0. Therefore dq by m into 0. Something by 0 that becomes what? Infinity, right? So that becomes infinity. It is infinite. So some people are mentioned remains constant, but they are wrong. So therefore specific heat capacity, that is S, this is the definition, from that we will get infinity. So go through the proper answers only, right? Okay. So then coming to the part of velocities will be given. So mean square velocity are there. How many velocities are there? So 5 velocities will be there. Therefore mean square velocity MSV I am writing. So that will be what? 2 square plus 3 square plus 4 square plus 5 square, right? 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 square by total how many? 5 will be there. This is not root mean square. If root mean square will be there, therefore we have to RMS. This is not RMS. If RMS will be there, we have to use square root, right? So but square only mentioned, there is no root, right? So there is no square root, only square will be mentioned. Therefore, so this is the entire value will be what? 90 will be get 90 by 5 means 18. But we are doing squares means what is meter square by second square we will get answer, right? So therefore that is the 18 meter square by second square is the answer. So direct square velocity, mean square velocity, we have to utilize this equation only, right? Direct equation, right? So then coming to the part of next question, right? So very interesting question, already we discussed in our class, right, in our thermodynamics. So these various questions they covered in the previous examination. All the questions are covered in our classes, so definitely you have to go through it. So in addition to that, even if any related questions or some other questions we will get, that also you able to do easily, right? So what is the condition is given? Cp minus Cv is equals to R is given, divided with the Cv on both sides, right? This Cp by Cv will be what? Written as gamma minus Cv by Cv 1, that is R by Cv. Therefore Cv is equals to R by gamma minus 1. That is the question will be Cv is equals to R by gamma minus 1. See how it should be simple, right? Cp Cv values are molar heat capacities, right? So that will be easily gamma minus 1, right? Next question, right? Right. Next question will be easy question only, just concept based, right? Moon has no atmosphere. What was the reason? Right? What was the reason? Means the escaping velocity of the moon, right? So that will be always less than 2 gaseous molecules, right? The RMS velocity of all the gaseous molecules will be more than escaping velocity of the moon surface. So that's why there is no escape, there is no atmosphere at the moon, right? This is the condition is suitable for that given statement, right? Next question, right? The energy supplied to conversion of 1 mole of, right? So what is a unit mass? Unit mass of solid is converted to unit mass of liquid. That is the process is known as, whenever unit mass, 1 unit mass will be mentioned, that is the latent heat of fusion. Right, don't confuse fission and fusion reactions. That will give latent heat of fusion only. This is the latent heat of fusion. Even fission will be there, right? So this is not latent heat of fusion, means conversion of 1 unit mass of solid into liquid. So this we may utilize it in Clausius-Clapeyron equations and some other equations we will get. So from thermodynamics, right? Next one. Right, so this is the just concept data only. There is a phase diagram is given according to phase rule, right? So whatever the question there will be there, right? So in this phase diagram, right, so the normal boiling point of SO2 in degree centigrades. Normal boiling point means that we have to consider as, right, so room temperature or standard temperature. So therefore temperature will be what we have to consider, at where pressure will be 1 atm, right? So this is the pressure in terms of this right hand side. So this is the temperature will be in x-axis, right? So where the 1 atm pressure will be there, the corresponding temperature will be minus 10 degrees centigrade. Therefore this is the answer, right? So directly we have to get from the concept only, right? So then coming to the part, right? So here see, such an interesting question it is, right? So volume changes are constant, right? Volume will be related to what? Number of moles, right? If number of moles are constant, volume will be constant. Number of moles will be changes, volume will be changes. Out of these 3 reactions, if we may consider here, delta Ng is equals to, right, this is 1 minus 2, that is minus 1. This is not equals to 0. Delta N is not equals to 0 means, so that will be giving some value, right? Equilibrium will be affected by volume changes. As we can change the volume changes, so this equilibrium will be shifted, right? So similarly here, what about this condition? Delta Ng will be, right, here how many moles? 4 moles of gas minus 9 moles. 4 minus 9 means minus 5. That is also not equals 0. But in this case, delta Ng will be what we are getting? 2 minus 2, that is 0. 2 minus 2, that is 0. When delta Ng is 0, this equilibrium cannot be disturbed by change of volume. These first 2 will be affected with volume. So therefore the answer will be 1 and 2 only, right? So that is the with respect to the concept of V is directly proportional to N, right? So then coming to the part of one more reaction, right? The effect of more efficient extraction. Whenever we are going to extract one component from the other, so we have to utilize the small number of portions of solvent, right? Simply column chromatography will be there, right? Whenever we may use the column chromatography, so somehow we have to add little small amount of solvent, so that will be extracted in various compartments. From that we are able to separate that mixtures, right? So therefore solvent, use the solvent in a number of small portions, right? So that is extraction process will be efficient, right? So then coming to the part of this, ideally dilute solutions. Which solutions we may call as ideally dilute solutions means the solute which will be present in very low concentration. The solute which will be present in very low concentration, such solutions are called diluted solutions. When solute is very low in concentration, therefore that follows Henry's law, right? That can follows Henry's law. So the solute can follows Henry's law and solvent can obeys Raoult's law, right? Solvent is always obeys Raoult's law. But in case of ideal solution, both solvent and solute obeys Raoult's law only. So therefore here solute obeys Henry's law and solvent obeys Raoult's law. That are called as ideally dilute solutions, right? So then coming in solution part we will get that one, right? So simple. So whenever we feel cool to touch, right, simple starch will be, right, sugar only, right, here it will be mentioned sugars only, right, sugar will be dissolved in water, that becomes getting cool in nature. If you touch that solution we feel that coolness, right? So simply think, right, so powdered sugar will be in hot water, at that time we feel that the solution will be cool to touch, right? So that is direct concept based only, right? Coming to the part of this, right, so there are various combinations will be given, right, various combinations are given, so we have to identify those, right? Salt solution means some small portion of salt will be, salt means solid will be involved in liquids, right? So this is the salt solution, the amount of a solution of solid in liquid, right? Soda water, gas in liquid, soda water will be gas in liquid, right? German silver means this is the alloy, the combination of metals that called alloy. So two metals means both are in solids, therefore this is German silver will be this one. Then hydrogen is a gas mentioned in solid, right? Acha, this is sorry, soda water na, soda water means that will be in liquid only, not solid. So this first one will be solid, right? Hydrogen gas in palladium, that is solution of gas in solid. Soda water means gas in liquid, gas in liquid. So therefore which option will be suitable? First A will be 4, so this will be there, right? B will be 3, B will be 3, C will be 5, D will be 1. This is the option will be suitable for that combination match of the following, right? So just concept based only, right? Coming to the part of this, right? So vapor pressure, ideal solutions will be given. For ideal solutions, straight lines we will get. So these two lines will be deviating, right? So these are the deviating. For example, if you may consider XA is equals to 1, XB is equals 0, XB is equals to 1, XA is equals 0. This is the composition, this is the vapor pressure. So this is the term will be P total. So then therefore this is the curves we will get, this is applicable for ideal solution. Similarly we will get like here straight lines only, right? These two are applicable, 1 and 4 will be applicable. So this is the remaining two will be curves we are getting means deviating, particularly this is the negative deviating, and this is the above side will be there, that is positive deviating, right? So therefore the answer will be 1 and 4, that is regarding to ideal solutions, right? Next, coming to the part of next question, what is the SOAP formula means? Directly we have to remember that, right? So SOAP formula will be, that is, oh sorry, one second, right? So what is the SOAP formula, right? So soap consisting sodium stearates. Soap is nothing but what? Sodium stearates. Right, sodium salt of carboxylic acids we have to consider, right? That is, so C18H37 COONA, C18H37 COONA, that is the called soap, sodium salt of carboxylic acids, right? So this is not a carboxylic acid, sulfur acids, this won't get, this is the simple and this is the not, right? So therefore this is called soap, C18H37 COONA, right? Next will be brine solution means aqueous NaCl solution we may called brine solution, aqueous NaCl solution called brine solution. Whenever that will be added to glycerol and soap, right? Glycerol will be more soluble in brine solution than soap, so therefore this is the corresponding answer for that, right? Brine can be used to separate glycerol and soap means the solubility of glycerol will be more in brine solution compared to soap, right? So salt solution means, so that salt solutions we cannot get lather with soap means hardness of water will be more is there, so corresponding that will be, we have to separate, one will be giving lather, another will be not giving lather, right? So that is right. So this is the concept of mole fractions, definitely. So we can get, if this C2H5OH will be considered as A, then ethanol will be, that is ethanol, and methanol will be considered as B. So therefore number of moles of A we have to consider, number of moles of B we have to consider. So the weight is given, weight by molecular weight is gives number of moles. So that is the, how much weight is given, 46 will be given, the molecular weight is 46, therefore number of moles will be 1. So then here weight how much is given, 64 is given 64. The mass of methanol is 32, therefore that will be 2. Number of moles will be given, therefore we have to get the mole fraction. Number of moles of particular component by total number of moles we have to consider, right? So that is number of moles of particular component, that is what? NB, right? So this is the one. Acha, which one we ask question will be? For ethanol is the question, right? Therefore XB will be 2 by 3, then XA will be, right, 1 by 3. The question will be XA only, that is 0.33 is the mole fraction of that corresponding, right? This is okay. So then coming to the part of next question, right? So this is right. So see, any system will be there, the chemical potential will be depends on number of particles which will be present in the solute only. So right, whenever chemical potential will be there, that chemical potential V always depends on number of particles which will be present in the solute. Whenever a solute is added to the solvent, so how many number of moles of particles are present in that solute, so based on that we will get, right? So then coming to the part of this one, the following cause high voltage, cell voltage will be increases, means just simply adding of Na2S to the hydrogen cell, there the voltage will be increases as compared with this NaCl, and as compared with this will be added to AgCl, NaCl with Ag, right? So some precipitation reactions we will get, therefore we can't get higher voltage, that is the option 1, right? So then coming to the part of here, right, so simple will be there, so copper and silver will be there. So here reduction potential of silver will be more, copper will be less, therefore we have to use silver reduction potential minus copper reduction potential, that is the answer 0.80 minus 0.34, right, 0.46, right? This is the answer, direct question only. So already we mentioned that total EMF will be reduction potential of cathode minus reduction potential of anode, right? Whose reduction potential is more, that is always undergo reduction, so that's why we will get that one, right? So then coming to the part of this PEM, right? So proton exchange membrane, what is meant by PEM means proton exchange membrane. Proton exchange membrane means definitely required hydrogen, so therefore simply we have to utilize this reaction, right? So proton exchange will be possible in fuel cells, means that is with the help of hydrogen only, so therefore this is H2 plus half O2 gives rise to H2O, that is the PEM, right? So then coming to the part of this, right, so the molar conductivities will be given, right? So for 2 ions will be given, but what is the molar conductivity of this will be, these ions will be split into 2 CS plus, right, and SO4 minus 2, that is 2 into 0.772 into 10 to the power of minus 2 plus 1.600 into 10 to the power of minus 2, the entire value sum we will get what, 3.11144 into 10 to the power of minus 7. Siemens are the units, and Siemens meter square per mole, these are the units. This is the resultant conductance we will get for CS2SO4 compound, right? So this is the converted into ions, those ions exhibiting conductance is known as its overall conductance, so from that we will get that, right? Whenever we are going to discuss about transport numbers, there are 2 kind of ions are there, T plus and T minus. So what is the coupling nature of these 2 ions that can make the mobility? So therefore the mobility of the other ion with which it is associated, that can give the information regarding about transport numbers. Cation and anion will be there, right? So in some cases K plus and Cl minus will be there, right? K plus and Cl minus, whose transport numbers will be same, therefore T plus is equals to T minus. Therefore such type of solutions we may use in that neutrally solutions, right? So then coming to the part of next one, right, a photochemical reaction will be there. So that photochemical reaction, how we are going to confirm whether it is a spontaneous reaction or not, means we'll confirm with delta G, negative or delta G is positive, with the help of change of free energy. So may have a negative or positive free energy change with respect to that, so we can choose a photochemical reaction, or that will give the information, right? So then coming to the part of next one, right, so the law which states that, right, so means initially whenever the photochemistry is the important one, right? So any substance will be there. So there is a chemical change. It will be occurred that is due to simple absorption of light radiation, that is right, observed by the substance bring about various physical changes. That is the first law, that is the Grother-Draper law, right? So even we will get Beers-Lambert's law, Frank-Condon also applicable for the photo concepts only, so that we will discuss it in our classes regarding photochemistry. That will be Grother-Draper's law, right? So then what is the blood means? Simple, that is, so the blood will be aerosol. Aerosol means what? So that will be, right, gas which will be present in liquid or solid, right? So most of the cases gas will be present in the liquid state, that becomes called aerosol. Therefore the blood will be, description will be aerosol, right? So solutions will be liquid in liquid, right? So sol will be what? Solid, liquid in gases, that will be sol, and similarly forms also will be there, right? So coming to the part of this, there are two type of emulsions will be there, oil in water emulsion or water in oil emulsion, right? If oil content will be more in water, right, so that can make a spheres, sphericals, right? So then followed by cylinder like spheres, and by followed by continuous, right? So by continuous. So this is the terminology. Whenever more amount of oil is added to the water emulsion, oil in water emulsion, this we have to consider, right? So this is the another kind of emulsions. Then coming to the part of next question, right? Identify the incorrect statement, right? So identify the incorrect statement. So what is that? The soap forms colloidal solution in water. This is we cannot, right? If soap will be forms a colloidal solution in water, that cannot remove that grassy matter by coagulation, means the soap cannot be forms a colloidal solution. That is the incorrect statement, right? This is the incorrect statement, right? So then followed to next one, right? So the colloidal sulfur is prepared by the following, right? So means this is the hypo and iodine reaction, NaI will be getting. So this is the acids mixture, and this is the precipitation will get ferrous sulfide. Only this is the one, H2S and FeCl3 will make sulfur colloids, right? So then the next one, right? So Michaelis-Menten already equation we discussed that, right? So what is meant by Michaelis-Menten means this Km Michaelis-Menten will give the measure of affinity of enzymes on the substrate. Enzymes are bonds with the substrate molecules. How the enzymes are bonds with the substrate molecules? Enzyme substrate complex will be produced. Then what is the rate of the reaction in that? So therefore that Km is the Michaelis constant that can give the ability or affinity of enzymes, how they may bonds with the substrate molecules. That is the option, right? So then coming to the part of this, right, that is molecular weight of benzoic acid in water. Water is a polar solvent and benzene is a non-polar solvent, right? So benzoic acid we have to consider, right? We have to consider benzoic acid. So this will be in water and benzene, C6H6. This is a what? Polar solvent. This is a non-polar solvents. For polar solvents it can make ions, means that will be monoatomic, right? Here it will be dimer. This is the what? Monoatomic. This benzoic acid means sodium benzoate ion we will get in case of polar, right? In case of polar, OH minus will be there, this hydrogen will be abstracted, therefore this can give benzoate ion, right? So means when we are getting benzoate ion, CO minus means, so that becomes what? Only one molecule will be present in case of polar. In case of non-polar, right? Non-polar means dimerization will be taking place, so therefore that is the answer will be 1 and 2, right? So this is almost the physical part. Whatever the topics will be mentioned in the syllabus, based on all the topics, there are all kind of questions will be there, like thermodynamics, photochemistry, quantum chemistry, then atomic structure, like then solutions, colligative properties, phase rule, right? Electrochemistry, chemical kinetics, all kind of questions will be there. Even in future examination also we will get such kind of questions related, right? So definitely we people work on that, right? We will give all kind of equations and all kind of concept which will be related to the concepts. Just you people go through it and do practice, and so please, so we people are giving some test series, right? You may So take the test series and do as soon as possible, as much as possible, how many questions you may covered. So sometimes same questions will be repeated in the examination, or similar kind of the questions you will get in examination, right? So thank you. You should follow. So clear explanation will be there, right? So you should go through the concept in detail. With respect to that, you will get the right answers, right? So this is right. So this is the overall physical part of PCB question paper in 2007, conducted in 2007 by TGPSC, right? Thank you.